Hello and welcome to Some Dude's Shed, a podcast that would normally be from a shed. Sadly, we're not in a shed at the moment. We're still banished to our bedrooms, which is terrible in all but the fact that we can do this in our pajamas.
Excuse me, I got dressed for this podcast.
Well,
Special occasion.
it's more than me, if you have the chance to do something in your pajamas, you take that chance. But anyway, today, normal service will be resumed. We will be telling each other stories from history and trying to work out whether they're true or not. That's the aim of the game. So, who would like to start?
I believe we already sorted this out, Mr. Gray, that you were going to go first.
All right then, I will start first. So my story comes from way back in 720 BC, so nearly 3,000 years ago.
I no doubt there's unverifiable, or undeniable evidence, records that this actually happened.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. This is kind of one of those stories where it isn't really possible to get exact evidence. It's one of those things that if this is the best evidence we have, the best evidence we have has this story in it.
So is this true based on whether you believe it's true?
No, it's based on whether it was believed at the time.
But they believed a real lot of false stuff at the time.
They did, yeah. Anyway, so this is in ancient Egypt. The pharaoh at the time was Bakan-Ranef.
I knew you were going to say Egypt. I don't know why, I just knew.
Oh, I love ancient Egypt. It's the place that keeps on giving,
Did they shit in the flower beds or something?
Was there 2,500 German soldiers holding off 3 million zombies?
Well, sadly not. But it is to do with a foreign invasion. So the Kingdom of Egypt was at war with the Kingdom of Kush to the south. Bakan-Ranef was marching his army south to meet the Kushite army. He had several thousand men, as you do, but battle didn't go very well. So details are a bit scarce on exactly the makeup of the army. So the army was camped out near the Valley of the Kings. I'm sure you know what the Valley of the Kings is. It's basically where all the pharaohs of old were buried. They've got massive statues and mausoleums and things like that. So the pharaoh wanted to go out there and pay his respects to the ancient kings, to basically so he could get their mystical blessing or something like that. And when he was in one of the tomb complexes, he encountered a ghost of King Nama, basically the
false, yeah.
King Nama told him to turn back and basically defend Egypt at the port town of Sais.
Hold on, there are no. Hold on, what do you mean he saw a ghost? There are no ghosts. Well, you can't prove there are ghosts. Well, maybe hold on. Maybe this isn't the true or false bit. This is it. Did he claim to have spoke to a ghost? Is that what you're saying?
He claimed he spoke to a ghost. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I thought you were saying that is undeniable fact. Oh, so he went and chatted to a ghost.
Bakan-Ranef said he spoke to a ghost who told him to go back to the port town of Sais, but this didn't go very well at all, and he was captured by the Kush army, and he was executed, ending that Egyptian dynasty. So ends the story, basically.
What's the
Hold on.
So the TrueorFalse basically is: did Pharaoh Bakan-Ranef blame a ghost for giving him advice to go back to a port town? Basically, say that it was a ghost that gave him a vision or advice to retreat and not meet the Kush army in battle in the plains.
Do you mean a ghost like ooh, or do you mean like he spoke to he prayed and claims he spoke to like a
Well, the thing is,
their equivalent of like an angel or something, or?
Oh no, it was definitely it was a vision of Pharaoh Nama. It was definitely him. The name is mentioned, but the word for ghost is kind of a bit funny with when it comes to ancient things. So it could be ghost, spirit, apparition, vision. So he had a visitation of the ancient king who told him to retreat.
And was that basically what happened after this? Like after he did what the ghost said, what happened?
Well, they retreated back to the port town of Sais, where they proceeded to lose the battle to the Cushites, who basically deposed the king who deposed the pharaoh.
Right. And so was he then like? Was this his alibi? Like, was he then put on trial or something? Or
Oh no, he was just executed by the invading army. Not entirely sure
okay.
why he was executed. I think just so they could claim ownership of Egypt because they conquered it.
But like, I don't understand why you have to say that he spoke to a ghost. Like, was this how he pitched it? Like, we're gonna retreat, guys. Why are we retreating? Why? Because the ghost told me. Like, is that?
Yeah, I guess so.
Pretty much.
He just said I had a vision from King Nama who says we have to go back to Sais.
Was he a real pharaoh? Are you just making up the pharaoh as well? Is that what it is?
But no, Bakan Ranef and Nama are both real pharaohs.
Right.
You see, this slightly frustrates me because it's so long ago. You can't prove whether it's true or not true at all. Like, it's either, experts believe this happened. It's like, well, that's still not proof.
Well, no, experts don't believe this happens, but they do say that he said that the spirit of King Nama has told me to go back to Sais.
So experts don't believe this.
Well, experts don't believe.
Did you drop yourself in it?
Experts don't believe he actually saw the ghost.
Well, I don't believe it either.
But they did like to experiment with mushrooms, I suppose. So I don't know, maybe.
And the Cruciates probably had plenty of that as well.
I'm gonna go true because it's just it's a good excuse. Like these people had their followers believing that the pharaoh was literally descended from a god. Talking to a ghost is not much of a stretch after that.
They were very religious people. They took that sort of thing very seriously, and yeah, the pharaohs were considered gods. So I suppose a vision of an ancient pharaoh wouldn't be that far fetched to the average Egyptian back then.
No, the pharaoh was like, it probably was like, oh shit, what do I do? Well, I know, I spoke to a ghost. And those idiots out there, they'll believe me because they believe I'm descended from a god.
I'll just say false based on the grounds that there's no way to actually prove this actually happened. Not that he spoke to a ghost, but that,
All right, and Mr. Red, you're saying true?
Yeah, why not?
Well, guys, I can say it is false. I didn't. I kind of made it up. But Bekan Ranef was captured in Sais and executed. He was burnt at the stake by Kush. I have the name of the Kushite king, but it's a bit of a funny name. I'm not sure I pronounce it right. The guy's called Shebitku, I think.
Shebitku.
Yeah, and then after that, Egypt was conquered by the Kush, and they were one of the foreign dynasties of Egypt.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
So moving on, Mr. Red, I believe you're next.
Yes. Well, mine takes place in the obvious place. Mid 1940 to early 1941 in Germany during the Great Political Disagreement.
Oh, yes.
A rail worker by the name of Paul Olkenberg worked on the S-Bahn and not content with just working on the railroad, he decided to murder women.
Okay.
Well,
Doesn't sound like
I'm sick of this. I'm going to go murder some women.
Doesn't sound like a logical link,
Well-
but carry on.
while doing other things to them that I don't think I can talk about.
Dear, oh dear.
One of his favorite ways to try and dispose of the body was just to open the side of the train and throw them off.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So basically, he committed believed 8 murders, maybe more, and he was caught and then executed by guillotine.
Good. Guillotine. Doesn't sound right.
And apparently, his wife got sent the maintenance bill for the guillotine after his head was cut off with it, and that's it.
Okay, so what are we examining here? Are we examining the fact he was killed by guillotine, or the fact that...
Well, the true or false is during the Great Political Disagreement of 40s, did the National Socialist Party execute people with guillotine?
False.
Hold on, let's examine it first.
I'm pretty sure the guillotine wasn't used anywhere outside of France.
I'm not sure that's.
Like long time ago.
I'm not sure that's
like,
true,
I thought
Mr.
hanging was like the.
Pretty sure it was used in South America at some point as well. Whether it was used in
the French bits.
Well, there weren't any French bits in South America, but they're probably used in French bits of Africa. Now think about it. Whether it was used in Germany though, was he caught in like Vichy, France, or something?
No, he was worked in Berlin.
Okay. Do you know where he was executed?
A German prison.
Well, it was in Germany then, right?
Yes.
I have a slight feeling that there's quite a spectacular true ending to this. Like they just chucked him off a train, or they tied him up and put him on a train track, and they run him over or something. I reckon it's gonna be something like that.
He liked to chuck his victims off the train, apparently.
I know, but I think maybe they tied him up and did the same thing to him.
For irony, yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe they like. I don't know. I reckon back then, hanging was generally the.
I'm surprised they didn't find out what he did, bring him to trial, and then basically say something along the lines of, "We could use a guy with your talents," I was like,
well, they did trial him, and that's not the conclusion they came to.
Okay.
I'll say false.
Yeah, during the period of, the murders all look really similar. They refused to even print it in the local newspaper.
Yeah, I think the media was quite controlled at that point.
Just a wee bit.
So, is there any precedent for the Germans using the guillotine at all? Has it ever been used to anyone else?
Apparently, this was common staple of execution for those condemned to death who weren't to be put in front of a firing squad.
So it was actually a done thing.
Apparently, it was a done thing to the common criminal who carried a death sentence.
I don't know. I've never heard of the guillotine being used in Germany. I'm going to say false on this one.
I don't think it's oddly specific, though.
What do you mean?
I think I'm still going to go with false, but like guillotine. So the statement is they used guillotine in Germany.
Well, I use this one guy as a particular example, but yes, the Germans during the period of great political disagreement used guillotine to execute people, and it was reserved more for the common criminal.
And it was this particular party only that used it?
I don't believe so. I think it was used before that.
I'm sticking with my answer. I'm staying with false.
I'll stay with false.
So you're both going false. Well, I can tell you it's true.
Really?
Yep.
They used a guillotine.
They used a guillotine. The bit about his wife, his wife was sent a maintenance bill for the guillotine after he died. You got to clean that and sharpen the blade. I can only find one source for that, so I'm a bit iffy on that. That's why I said apparently for that bit. But yes, he was executed with guillotine, and apparently that was common enough for the common criminal who was sentenced to death during this period.
Apparently go surreal.
I just did a little Google there.
Let me just finish my thing. The last execution carried out by guillotine was in 1977 in France.
Of course, it was France.
I didn't even think they were used that late, but apparently
70s.
That's very
77.
late. He must have been a really bad boy.
Yeah.
Habadin Dajandobi, Tunisian immigrant, convicted of murder.
What?
Or maybe when was he convicted? He was probably convicted when he was really young, and he was on France death row for a long time. That was his sentence. It's well, we need to get it done now.
Oh, sorry. Also, on the case of the guy I used, Paul Orgazon, he was convicted and executed in the same day. Efficiency and all that.
Of course.
Well, very good.
The other fella here in 1977, he was convicted on the 25th February and sentenced to death, and he went through an appeals process, but he was executed on the 10th of September 1977.
Did they display his head on a pike on top of the Bastille?
I don't believe so. But what were you going to say, Mr. Grey, there? You were Googling
Yes, I
something?
did a quick little Google there. Apparently, Mr. Hitler, he made an order of guillotine. He put 20 of them in cities across Germany. Apparently, some 16,000 people were killed by the National Socialist guillotines.
Did they have the little symbol of...
The symbol of peace? Yeah, they probably did, yeah.
Fuck. Hijack that symbol.
So, moving on.
Maybe not.
Alright. The other way I said my story is a bit shitty. Well, that's because it is.
Is it about poop?
In a sense. In space, no one can hear you fart. So, on the International Space Station, there are many protocols to maintain a level of cleanliness and to prevent the spread of infections, disease, and potential parasites. Before the astronauts get into their gear and blast off, they are decontaminated and then go into their suits, which remain sealed until they reach cruising speed, and then they can open their visors. Even when the astronauts are being loaded into the shuttle and strapped in by the ground crew, they must also be contaminated to keep bacteria to an absolute minimum. So even the ground crew have to minimize contact with randomers between decontamination and getting the astronauts onto the shuttle, because the astronauts can't really strap themselves in. Once they reach the space station and come aboard, they need to follow hygiene procedures and regularly clean themselves using onboard facilities. I don't know if you've seen some of the facilities they use, like they kind of have to use like a kind of dry shampoo on their hair and use like a vacuum kind of, I think it is literally just like a vacuum. They use it on their head to like suck off any moisture and, you know, any of the shampoo. They must always sneeze into a tissue, so everyone's pretty much required to have one ready on them at all times. This is to avoid potential spread of bacteria and viruses, and also avoid flying boogers, which could just stick to the equipment and be really nasty and gross. Seeing as the space station is an enclosed space with very little airflow, this needs to be taken into consideration. There is a lithium hydroxide filter built into an astronaut's spacesuit, which is used to capture potentially deadly gases, such as carbon dioxide and methane.
Ooh.
This is all well and good.
What would be the main source of methane in an astronaut spacesuit, I wonder?
Well, what goes in must come out. This is all well and good when in an enclosed space, such as a spacesuit, but while floating around on the space station, these gases a person can produce are free to just float around however it pleases. If a person has body odor, that lingers on the space station for a lot longer than it would down here on Earth, because we actually have like wind and airflow down here, but in the space station there's like not much airflow at all.
That makes you think, right? Would that be like a qualification you need as an astronaut? To say, I'm sorry, you smell too bad, we can't have you in the space station. That should be something they test before they go up, right?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure if you have any sort of like physical ailment, like that, like I'm not saying like you like missing a limb or something. I'm pretty sure it helps to have all your limbs, but like things like that could cause like some sort of biohazard scenario. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be permitted to go into the space station. Even if on this launch day, if you like develop some sort of infection, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't let you go up there. They would actually postpone it if you have like some sort of infected cut or something.
That makes sense.
The protocols for farts are also outlined as such. If you feel like you need to fart, you should hold it and release it into the toilet, which also has a built-in vacuum. I don't know if you've ever actually seen the video of the space toilet in the space station, but it's like it has like a built-in sort of it has like an airflow, it has like a suction, so whenever you release your business, like it goes straight down and in rather than just like hover there and just dance around your butt, which would be really unpleasant. As another precaution, astronauts are provided with underpants, which have a woven-in activated carbon panel, which should trap all foul odors which attempt to pass through it. Just remember, in space, no one can hear you fart, except for your fellow crewmates, who also have the displeasure of smelling it. So, true or false? There's a protocol for farts that astronauts must follow on the space station.
I'm gonna say true.
It certainly sounds believable. You have to think, right? I mean, how long has the International Space Station been up there?
Greg, like
30 years, right?
Quite a while. Yeah.
Think how many farts are floating around a space station?
Pressurized container, anything that goes off in there stays in there. You also you've got the more concerning element of they're conducting scientific experiments. If you get enough farts going off with their methane gas, it's quite flammable. They can maybe join together to make a giant fart cloud.
That is actually a concern as well. Like if enough buildup of methane can be a fire hazard.
That's true. Methane is very flammable.
I'm pretty sure that the air in the space station is very oxygen rich as well. So like naked flames are actually quite dangerous. Anytime they actually they do light flames, like naked flames and stuff for experiments, they have done anyway. But they've always done it inside like an enclosed environment, like in a like an experiment box. They would never light one just sitting there for the crack, you know.
Yeah, it just takes a bit of access to that methane fart cloud that's going around, and boom.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say yes. There is a protocol in place.
I'm not sure because surely there would be filters and stuff in space stations and spaceships, which are always cycling the air, right?
Yeah.
So that would surely catch the methane. Not in a space suit. I mean, if you're in a space suit and you fart, that's your problem. But if you put in a spaceship or a space station, then it would be filtered out, right? Surely.
Yeah. Well, the air is recycled because it needs to be for them to breathe, but there's a lot less airflow because it's such an enclosed space. And I don't think it's purely for smell reasons. I think I think whenever you go up there, as well, this is just my own theory. I'm probably just making this up, but like surely, like say I don't know, if you have some sort of bacteria in your gut or something, and then you fart it out, and then somebody else breathes that in, then that's still potentially a contamination
I
risk.
don't think so. I'm not sure anyone's actually been.
You're taking
I'm not sure
up.
anyone's actually been sick from a fart.
Well,
have you ever seen Jackass?
That was an extreme example.
Well, I don't know. In fact, our good friend of ours farted one time and actually nearly died.
Yeah, he did try to execute us.
Like that fart has some weight to it.
It was thick. It was a thick fart, you know.
It was it was denser than the air around it. Like you actually felt the resistance as you walked through it. It was insane.
There was a texture to it.
Oh, imagine that, the space station.
Oh no!
You can no escape.
Yeah,
I'm having a spacewalk. I'll come back in a minute.
But you don't have a suit on. Fuck this thing.
You forget your carbon infused pants. They actually sell those pants on Earth, by the way. They're called shreddies.
Shreddies, right?
They use the same technology, activated carbon, and they actually give instructions on the website too. It's if you're not wearing your pants properly, it won't it won't block in the smell.
Right. So just a little summary. What's the true or false in one sentence?
There is a protocol for farts that astronauts must follow.
And what is the protocol?
That if they feel like they need to fart, they're advised to just hold it in if they can, and if they absolutely cannot, then to go and use the toilet facility because it has like a vacuum built into it.
Right. Okay.
And they have their pants as well. Like the pants, I don't think the pants are mandatory, but they're given them anyway.
I'm
going true.
What are you going to go false? I think it'll be picked up by the filters. I'm sure it's not a problem. I could be wrong. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if I was.
So are you saying that you would just fart away on the space station? Is that what you're saying? You would actually fart?
Oh, it's not
amongst your crewmates.
I would be careful of what I ate. You know, I mean, I'm conscious of the environment I'm going to. But you know, it's not like I'd go there eating the gassiest of foods.
I think the food on the space station would actually cause a lot of gas because a lot of it's like freeze dried and stuff, isn't it? I reckon a lot of that food could cause your stomach to have some problems.
Yeah, I'll say false. I think it's probably just kind of like an unwritten rule. I don't think it'll actually be a formal protocol. Hold it into the toilet, you know.
Mm.
So, Mr. Black, what is it?
It's false.
Brilliant.
I heard about there's like a thing with farts on the space station, but I just couldn't remember the specifics, so I assume that's must be where you got it from. So I was going true.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there are, like as mentioned earlier on, the suits have lithium hydroxide filters built in, and it is to prevent the buildup of deadly gases, which do include methane and carbon dioxide. And the thing is, it's not methane that makes the smell. Methane does have a smell in itself, but it's not what makes the pungent smell. It's like a sulfur. I think it's hydrogen sulfide that makes it, and sulfur, smells like eggs. But the thing is, though, it's not a protocol. I should stress it is etiquette.
I would imagine it would be astronauts on it.
Like if you're just up there blown away, like amongst your crewmates, I don't think they'd be happy with you in the slightest.
There we go.
So there you go.
So, little notice. I gotta say, if anybody listening has been affected by anything we've been talking about in this program, please let us know in the comments, as we'd love to hear from you, and we'll always read them.
Buy some Shreddies. If Shreddies would like to sponsor this podcast, then
Shreddies the underwear or Shreddies the breakfast cereal?
Shreddies the underwear, the underwear company.
Absolutely, I'd happily shill for some underwear.
And our friend desperately needs it.
He really does.
Radio.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye bye.